so welcome, John. I'm absolutely delighted to have you on the show today to discuss success and specifically what it means to you. So what I thought, John, if that's okay with everybody listening, is if you kick off first just by giving us a bit of an insight into who you are, kind of how you got started, what you've accomplished so far and where you are now.
Yeah, like a lot of people, I started off in a corporate life. I had various jobs. I worked for a number of companies and did okay, and got involved in some very interesting projects. I worked for a number of American software companies. I think we're in the stage of the world nowadays where everyone's worked for an American software company at some point. Yeah. And then I worked on a few turnarounds and some startups. So really interesting projects. And then naturally moved from doing that for companies to actually starting to do it for myself. So I established my own business and then started really undertaking projects of my own for clients. So understanding what it is they want to do, how they want to move forward. And whether you're a startup or whether you're an established company, whether it's a turnaround, whether it's launching into a new market, it all comes down to the same thing, which is how do you move from where you are to the next level? How do you grow? And I'm fortunate enough now that I have clients in various sort of stages that I can do that for. So success for me is I just like helping people and watching their business flourish. And personal success is I've managed to do that and achieve that and work with some really cool companies to do that. So that for me is success. What it means for the companies is they grow in a sustainable way that is delivered through a strategic approach, not just let's sell more stuff, let's employ more people, let's run a campaign. No, that's tactical. How do you do it in a strategic way? So yeah, that's success.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, and it's obvious from the conversations we've had prior to this that you in your own right have become very successful through kind of everything that you've done. What do you believe is the biggest or has been the biggest key to your success so far? And I guess, what do you think the contributors or main contributors have been around that for you personally?
Oh, the biggest contribution to me has actually been the people I work with, whether they are partner associates or whether they are customers. Because if you look after them and you do a good job for them, they will help me grow, my business grow. So I think it's that kind of working with people, and I'm very much a kind of people person. So that has been the biggest help, if you like, to me. But for me, myself, I go back to what I said earlier. I just like helping people and watching their business grow, and that delivers results that are measurable, which is great.
And in terms of that, just touching on the people part, then how do you define or decide, I suppose, who you believe is the right person to work with? Do you think that's particularly important? What do you do when you come to see somebody and you start thinking, what triggers in your mind to think, I could start working with this person and this could be somebody that could help me? How do you kind of determine that?
Well, first of all, it has to be a two-way street. They have to, it sounds odd to say they have to want to work with me. You'll be surprised how many people I end up in a conversation with, and there's just not the relationship, the chemistry. Yes. So it has to be a coming together of that. In terms of organisation, I don't want to work for huge organisations with multiple layers dealing with multiple divisions and departments. I like to talk to just 2 or 3 people who are the ultimate decision makers and the key people in any project. That just makes it a lot easier. Reality is there's only one thing I really look for, and that is an open mind. If you're dealing with people and they're closed off to ideas, if you have a conversation with them saying, yeah, I'd like you to do this, this, and this, but don't go there. Well, why don't go there? I'm not saying nothing should be off limits, but it has to have that open mind attitude, because that will deliver results. Yes. I do turn down customers. A few weeks ago, I was talking to some clients, and I ended up saying to them, what you want me to do, you cannot afford. And I didn't mean financially. It was just too much of a step for them to take. I don't mean intellectually either. I just mean it was just going to be asking too much of them, and they weren't willing to go that far. I hope the company does succeed. Right now they're still where they were when I left them a couple of weeks ago. But it was just one of those. I could have earned some money, we could have, but it would never have become what they wanted to become, and I would have got frustrated as well. So it sounds a bit arrogant to say you choose who you work with, but I don't mean it to sound arrogant, but it has to be for both parties to come together.
Yes, absolutely, and I understand that. And I suppose essentially what you're saying is it has to be the right person, it has to feel like the right fit, I suppose, for it to be able to progress. Has there been anybody for you that has been massively influential in your life that you think has kind of paved the way for your career? Can you name maybe one or a few people that you've surrounded yourself with that you think have really excelled you?
Yeah, I could list half a dozen, and I'm going back a long time. I'm that old. That at certain points they've been very influential in terms of the experience, the opportunity, and really just working with cool people. So I wouldn't say there are too many to name, but there is a list. So I think it's just in life, in opportunities, you surround yourself with people, and if you surround yourself with the right people, but don't necessarily get stuck with them, right? You change those people. That's not about being disloyal. That's about constantly moving forward all the time and looking for new opportunities and looking to learn. I've taken on roles that have been completely different to anything I've done before, and it's been immensely enjoyable, but also immensely educational. So too many people to name, I suspect. But
people that have definitely helped you succeed then?
Oh gosh, yeah. And if there's one person out there that says, yeah, I can thank John for that, I'll take that, because one is good, two is great, three, and so on and so forth. So yes, if I can return the favour, brilliant.
Perfect. What do you think is your personal continued motivation? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you think that's driven you to this level of success?
What gets me out of bed? My family, for one thing, but from a business point of view, I get an opportunity to work with people and involve myself in really cool projects, and at the end, when you've done something like that, it comes. You want to do it again, right? When you've done something that delivered a success, that was cool. Now where's the one? And it's really as simple as that. It's actually just about doing something very cool for a company, for an individual, for a business, for an owner, and then moving on to the next one. And I get to work with some people I respect immensely, either as customers and as potential partners or partners.
Ah, fab. Thank you. So the next thing I kind of wanted to touch on was, for you, is there maybe a kind of a career defining moment or somewhere in the path of your career so far where you've kind of looked back and gone, yeah, that was the pinnacle of my career, or that's kind of what you felt at that point you'd become successful? Is there any way you can pinpoint that, or do you think that you just retrospectively have looked back and said, all these things collectively have kind of made me who I am?
Well, if there was a pinnacle behind me, it means I'm on the slope down. So I really hope that's not the case. So no, but I think there are certain steps in the journey. So if anyone who's ever climbed Mount Everest will tell you, when you get to Camp 1, you don't stay there and then go up and go up. You go back down again, and then you go back up to Camp 1. And sometimes you go up and down 2 or 3 times. And I think learning and careers are like that. Sometimes you have to go forward, and then you have to make a conscious decision to go backward, to then reacclimatize yourself to the next level. So in terms of peaks, none yet, or many so far, whichever interpretation you like. But there's always more. And there's always tomorrow, and there's always the next really cool thing.
I think what's really interesting about what you said there, and I find this with everybody that I speak to, is everybody that's been very successful in their life, such as yourself, really feels like that they're not done yet. And I think that's a really interesting mindset that I tend to find is a common thing that everybody sort of takes with them, you know, who has that same mindset, I suppose, that they want to keep going, and it's never enough in a way. There's always the next big thing, the next big opportunity, and I guess that's one of the main drivers that I suppose people who are successful end up, you know, doing. So I guess another sort of thing that a bit of an aside to that, then linking in, is, have you had anything that's been incredibly challenging in your career that's thrown you off? You know, something that during your kind of path so far you've been a bit blindsided by, and it's taken you a few steps back.
Yeah, you know, I've got blindsided, as you say, a few times on things you just didn't expect, but they become opportunities, right? If something, you know, knocks your feet from under you, you've got a choice to sit there or get up. And if you get up, you look around and see what happened. So whenever things go wrong, in quotes, you know, there are opportunities, and anyone who's been their failures and have bad days, part of striving for success. But I can remember a while ago now, I was genuinely true, sitting on the beach in Cyprus, and I said to my wife about a project I was working on. I just said, I don't want to do this one anymore. And she said, then don't. And that was really interesting, because, you know, this constant striving and moving forward, absolutely. But sometimes you just got to go, you know what, I'm done with that one, or there is no point going any further, or, you know, making that decision to walk away or to stop pursuing something. And actually, that's actually a more difficult decision than to strive for the next level, is knowing when to say no.
Yes.
So I've done that rarely, but I have done it, and that was quite a tough decision to do.
Okay, fab. So I know before the show I kind of asked you why helping others to become successful was really important to you, and I just kind of wanted to share with everybody what you said, because it was just really nice, you know, and you kind of touched on this throughout the interview as well, but, you know, you said to me that you just love working with people, you think it's great, and people, you enjoy seeing people who want the business to grow, and you want to see them develop the business over time, and I suppose what you touched on there, you also said equally it's about people having an open mind to see what the true potential of the business is, and I thought that was a really nice and great reason to want to work and encourage and help other people to ultimately being successful. So for everybody listening, I suppose one of my questions would be, and I ask this to everybody, is what would be the one piece of advice that you could give to anybody listening who wants to successful? What do you think the key thing is, that if you could only take one piece of advice away, what would it be?
Just do not be afraid to do anything. You know, if you get given an opportunity, take it. If you are challenged and confronted with something, just you know, it may be an enormous great rock blocking your road. Well, you know, climb over it, go around it, or move it, but don't just turn around and walk the other way. So I think it's all about your mindset, and your mindset has to be just do it. You know, to coin a phrase from a well-known sports leisure wear company, but just do it. And if you don't know how to do it, that's okay. Find a way, ask someone, or just try and fail, but then try again and try a different way, and just doing that. So yeah, just forwards always.
Great. And another question that I'm really interested in, because again, I've had a few different debates around mindset, and you just touched on it there. How much do you think mindset plays into success? Because when I spoke to other people, I hear some people say 100%, some people say 50. Lovely guy, Travis Fox, that I was interviewing last week, said to me he thinks it's 50% mindset and 50% heart, which was quite interesting. So, you know, for you, where do you sit on that scale, and how much do you think mindset plays into success?
So it's interesting, you know, he said 50% mindset and 50% heart. I would argue that mindset, as opposed to intelligence, is a lot of heart in it anyway. So I can tell you this: without the right mindset, you're not going to achieve, or you're certainly nowhere near going to deliver your full potential. So absolutely it's vital. In fact, to that point, last week I gave a presentation at a conference about how to develop a growth mindset for a business, because there's a growth mindset as individuals, which people have, which is about, you know, taking on challenges, overcoming problems, and nurturing feedback. But as a business, those rules, those parameters still apply, but they just need to be applied in different ways, and the company needs to apply them to the individuals. So absolutely, they're important to the individual. They're important to a business, whether it's 50%, 100%. Yeah, I can tell you it's certainly not zero. But I would also argue that mindset is about as much about intelligence as it is about heart or passion and belief. So it's not, mindset isn't all about them. It's about the mind, not about the brain.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Right, so that's everything. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Honestly, it's been great. Thank you for joining me. It's incredible to have you here, and thank you for sharing your version of success and what you believe success really is. And I'm sure you've opened plenty of people's minds to different ways of thinking, and hopefully we'll be unlocking their true potentials as well. So thanks again, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much.